Morning. Tim Stewart here, and I mentioned today I was going to do a live broadcast on a spiritual message that I feel that's been on my heart to give. This was it's actually a message I gave at a church a few years ago, but it's opened up a little bit more now. So I certainly appreciate you taking a moment to hang out with me. But this message is titled God Doesn't Want Me. God does not want me. And I just feel that it's a message that a lot of us have maybe felt over the course of our lives. So the story behind it, I was coaching one morning when I got a letter from the bishop. I had applied to become a deacon in the Catholic Church, and my application was denied. And that kind of started the whole process. It was denied. Well, I'll get into it in the story. So this is called God Doesn't Want Me. I have to tell you something that's very hard for me to say. But as I said above, if I believe it, I must say it. And it's become crystal clear to me the last few days that what I'm about to tell you, it's as clear as a July day in Nebraska, as clear as a bell ringing on a quiet summer's eve. I figured it out. God does not want me. I grew up on a farm in Nebraska, but I was pretty sure God didn't want me there, so I moved on. I moved on to the U.S. Army and eventually the Illinois Army National Guard. I had a stellar career as a military policeman, a combat medic, a motor pool dispatcher, a plumber, the distinguished graduate from the Officer Candidate School. I was an infantry platoon leader. I was a scout platoon leader, a company commander, as well as many others. Then one day my career ended. With the exchange of my command, my soldiers gave their attention to the new guy, and I just drove out to my truck and drove away. The change was difficult, but clear God didn't want me there, so my life moved on. My life in maintenance was productive, and I felt a call to become a supervisor, which led to severe headaches and eventual loss of that job. I guess God didn't want me there either. For 9 months, I attempted to get a speaking career moving, but they didn't beat down the doors to find me, so God didn't want me there either. I interviewed for a job that I didn't want and got it. True story. Then I interviewed for another job and got it. Then I interviewed for another job, a job as a stockbroker, and I got it. Then excuse me one second. Hey guys, April. I'm on a Facebook Live, and this is picking up all the conversation. Yeah, and they hear this too.
I don't know what you're saying. What do you want me to do?
Be quiet.
How long? How long? 2 minutes? 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
Yes.
Kids that are eating right now. I tried to tell you. Wait. Did you? Oh, I thought you took the Band-Aid off. Just wait until they're gone.
Okay.
Thank you.
I apologize, guys. I guess God didn't want me there either. Then the headaches came back. I published a novel and started a speaking career again, right when no one was hiring speakers or buying books. This time my personal life was falling apart. I felt for many years that God finally wanted me. But now it was pretty clear He didn't want me. Even my warm and fuzzy places were starting to reject me. The Relay for Life that I had done for so many years found a way to gently escort me off the stage because they wanted everything to follow their perfect script, and I wasn't a script follower. The Chamber of Commerce, the Family Faith Night, everything just started fading away. Then I felt it was finally time to become a deacon in the Catholic Church. and I put in my application, and I went through the interview. As I went through the interview, they found out I was going to be 63 a few weeks before my ordination, and the U.S. Council of Catholic Bishops had said that 62 was it, and they decided not to grant me the waiver. I'm sure glad they weren't around when Sarah had her baby or Noah was driving that ark. The thing about it was, God didn't want me to give up. You see, the family that moved onto the farm that I grew up on allowed us to come back and visit the old acreage so I could show it to my grandchildren. After a bit of conversation, Arthur, the new owner, turned out to be the brother of Richard Martinez. Richard was a 8th grade athlete. He was a phenomenal athlete. He had already broken the high school record for the 200 and 100 as an 8th grader. And as a football player, he was incredible. The 8th graders were scrimmaging the freshmen. And as a sophomore varsity athlete, I was there at the game. And the end of the second quarter, or into the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, Richard already had 3 or 4 touchdowns, and it was just off to an incredible start. And we were ecstatic. Richard came to the sideline and he said, "Coach, I've got a headache." Coach Hafer saw me there and he said, "Stu, would you check on Richard?" So I went over by him. He was kneeling, and I sat down beside him on the grass, and he looked at me and he says, Tim, he said, "it hurts so bad." And he looked at me, his eyes rolled in the back of his head, and he fell into my lap. It turned out to be the last words Richard ever spoke. He died of an aneurysm that morning. It was the most heartbreaking thing I had ever gone through at this point in my life. And Arthur was only 3 at the time when this happened, and his family never talked about Richard. He never heard the stories about Richard or what a phenomenal athlete he was. So that trip back to the farm said, well, God was telling me my time there was well spent, and coming back allowed me to touch a young man's life. The art soldiers I trained all came home back from combat. The lessons I taught them while I was there brought them back, and God allowed me to know that my time there was well spent as well. The athletes I've trained are now doctors and lawyers and many other successful careers. The teenagers I've spoken to have made better decisions. And I know that God has a different plan for me than becoming this thing I thought was so important. I just didn't know what his plan was. I did know that I joined the Army to train soldiers to survive. I did know that I led the Fellowship of Christian Athletes so that one day I would recognize a problem and convince a young lady not to commit suicide. I didn't know that I was meant to teach a maintenance man with low self-esteem how to apply himself and get the job he wanted and marry the woman he was meant to marry. I didn't know that my job was to train talented young men in the investment world the difference between caring for people's money and caring for people. But I know now. You see, God never tells you why until the mission is finished. And we move on. Sometimes I don't understand that. See, I'm a mission-oriented guy. Give me a mission, and I'll go do it. But God says, give me faith, and I'll let you complete my mission. In the words of my friend Zig Ziglar, I'm not going to ease up, let up, give up, or shut up until I'm taken up. As a matter of fact, I'm just getting warmed up. So how does that all apply to what's going on today? Well, clearly God doesn't want me to give up yet. He's got a lot more in store for me and the family and everything that we got planned. You know, this whole issue as it came to light, it came to light in a way that I didn't have to suffer any serious consequences, serious cardiac event, a serious stroke or something else. It was found through an eye appointment. And if that's not a blessing and a message from God that there's something else in store for me, I'm not sure what is. So if there's any message I can give to you today, is God doesn't want you to give up either. we all have challenges in my life. This is just mine right now. Your challenge is your challenge. And if you just keep the faith and keep working through it, it is all going to work out. I'm blessed to have so many of you hanging out with me for a few minutes this morning, or maybe watching it a little bit later. But if I've touched your life in any way along the path, if I've been your coach, I've been your commander, I've been your plant manager, I've been your friend, or maybe your relative. If I've touched your life, just know that it wasn't my plan. That was God's plan. And he brought me into your life for a reason, and he brought you into mine for a very similar reason. So with that being said, God doesn't want me to go on any longer here either. So tomorrow morning, 5:15, we'll head off to the hospital. We'll be at the hospital. We'll leave here about 4:30, 4:45 a.m. Get to the hospital. Surgery scheduled for 7:30 a.m. And I look forward to my first live stream back so I can tell you how amazing I feel. So God bless. Travel safe. Make this your best day yet. Now it is time to get off the bench and get back in the game.